So we're going to go through the Airbnb, currently what's happening with coronavirus going on. We're now into August of 2020, and this has been going on since March. So we're about 6 months into it. In the very beginning, obviously it was incredibly difficult. Everybody that we had scheduled for April, including spring breakers and everybody else, canceled. May, we had a total of one, and we have 6 Airbnbs. We had a total of 1 guest that showed up for their reservation. In June, we had a couple of more people, but the majority of everybody canceled again. And then at the, as we got into July, though, we saw a huge uptick in terms of the amount of people that were sending in inquiries and the people that wanted to come to San Diego, even with Comic-Con completely online and everything else right now in limbo or somewhat shut down. So let's go into this quick presentation, and we can go through questions and answers at the end. So who are we? I am the CEO of the Home Company. It's a real estate brokerage. We focus on value-added opportunities with short-term rentals, buying foreclosures, fixing up properties, flipping, everything that has to do with real estate. We've been Airbnb properties since 2012 in San Diego. We own 6, or we have owned 6. Right now, a few of them are long-term tenants that we've put in there, and we've actually sold one of them here in the last month. We help our clients and friends and family convert properties into Airbnbs if they've never done it before, and help them maximize the values that they can get. So what we saw was incredible pent-up demand as we got into the summer. People still wanted to go on vacation, but there's just not a whole lot available. A lot of people took their short-term rentals off the market or turned them into long-term rentals. And we had, from Memorial Day on, a incredible uptick of inquiries about the properties that we did have. And we are still getting some cancellations from people that had put their reservations in either last year or the beginning of this year before the coronavirus started. But for the most part, July, as you'll see in one of the later slides, was even better in 2020 than it was in 2019. So looking at a typical scenario and why people Airbnb, obviously a lease versus a short-term rental, the revenues that you're going to get, even with management, even with everything the same, only booked up 3/4 of the time, is going to be almost double of a long-term lease. So most people see the arbitrage there, where they can get much higher revenues from a short-term rental than they could on a long-term rental, at least until the coronavirus started in the beginning of the year. But we're starting to see, again, that uptick come in, and we're seeing those properties get rented out a lot more, at least for the summer months here. July is typically by far the best month in San Diego. We usually see twice as much revenue in July, the 1 month of July, sometimes as much as 3 times as much as the rest of the year. So what did July revenues look like? Well, just from one of the estates that we had that was on the market full time, in 2019, we had 7 stays at that one estate, and the gross revenue was $24,300. And the same estate, which was available in 2020, even though we had coronavirus and it was a much different situation at the beaches in downtown San Diego, everything like that, we had 6 stays and actually got about $4,000 more than we did in 2019. So the demand is still there. People are still traveling. The amount of people that want short-term rentals, at least in the near term here in the summertime of San Diego, has been extremely high. So what do we do to set ourselves apart? We usually go above and beyond when it comes to digital marketing. We try to get our listings out there with floor plans, videos, 3D renderings, everything that you would, but we don't just take pictures with our cell phone and stick them on Airbnb and hope that somebody stays. It's a real concerted effort to get the biggest bang for the buck. We usually get about 50 to sometimes 100% more per night in the neighborhoods that we do our Airbnbs in than the neighbors do. And the reason why is that we provide a much higher level of service and a much better experience. So a lot of the hosts that we have spoken with have had a very difficult time, especially during these last 4 or 5 months. They're either on forbearance plans with their lending institutions, so they don't have to pay their mortgage. There are some opportunities too that Airbnb offers. They partnered with 4 different banks and allow people to refinance, especially while terms are so good right now. I mean, they're in the 2 3/4 to 2 7/8 range for a 30-year fixed. So there are some refinancing options that Airbnb has. If you're not familiar with it, they've posted an article. I put the link down there at the bottom, and you can see the different banks and mortgage companies, Quicken Loans, Citizens Bank, Better Mortgage, and Guild Mortgage that they partner with for refinances. As you know, property values have continued to skyrocket. We actually sold one of our Airbnbs, and we sold it for about $75,000 more than the last comparable sale in the neighborhood that we were in, based on the fact that it had got so much income, especially from 2019. But it is a seller's market completely. We had 8 offers the first day and sold the property for, like I said, $75,000 more than the last sale in the neighborhood. This is pretty much happening all over the country. There's a real shortage of properties on the market. People aren't moving, or they're just refinancing and staying in place. And there are a lot of people looking to purchase homes. So anything that hits the market right now, as long as it's priced competitively, sees typically multiple offers within that first 48 hours. Airbnb offers something that's really nice, a proof of income, so that if you are going to sell a property or refinance a property, they do have a page on their website where you can request the proof of income from last year. They will send you the proof of income so that you can use it for the lending institutions or for the MLS if you wanted to put that on there and show them, hey, last year I made $140,000 from this property, whereas my neighbors who leased their property only made 60. So the value that you get from an Airbnb or from being able to show them in writing exactly what it was that you made it goes above and beyond when it comes to having a property that's you're going to get a lot more for in the long run. There are a lot of resources out there, and more continue to come online. As you know, on YouTube, there's a ton of people that will give you their expertise or what it is that they've seen. Airbnb Automated is one of the ones I like to follow, but there's Laptop Landlord, Guesty, if you're doing any type of management for more than 1 or 2 properties and need someplace to collaborate and consolidate all of your listings in one place. Fiverr, if you need to do things like enhance photos or get videos created. LearnBnB, if you're new to this and you want to get some more information. So what are the next steps? We're a real estate brokerage. We focus on those value-added opportunities, as I said. If you're not currently an Airbnb member or you haven't stayed before, we do have a referral link. It's great because you get, I think, $30 off your first trip, and we get a $30 voucher as well. If you do have some questions about how to make your Airbnb more valuable, we do review listings from time to time. We'll show you how to do that as well. If you need to know the market value of a property based on the fact that it's an Airbnb, we can do that for you. I put my email address there down at the bottom so that you can email me if you have any questions or need anything.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
Hey, this is Seth. It's nice to meet you. And we just moved down to San Diego about a month and a half ago, and are going back and forth in negotiations on a property now that ideally we do Airbnb it. And it's in Old Town, good location. Obviously, I missed the presentation, so I didn't kind of know what the full scope of the prognosis is, I guess, of how Airbnb is doing here in San Diego. Is there kind of just a general summary of, hey, it's good, it's not good, it's, we're definitely seeing impacts, that to be aware of, type of thing?
Yeah, what I went through in the presentation is, we've had 6 Airbnbs as of the beginning of the year. Right now we're down to 1. We've actually long-term leased 4 of them, sold off another one. And the one that we do have is a large estate, but we've had a tremendous amount of demand, especially since probably Memorial Day, around the May timeframe. It started to get picked up fairly well in June, and then July actually had higher revenue this July than it did last July, which was pretty amazing since Comic-Con was online and most of the main attractions in San Diego shut down.
Yep.
Not sure who's
Somebody's got some water going.
But yeah, it's been pretty good so far as in terms of the amount of demand that's come back since Memorial Day. So since about May, I think people have kind of when the country started to reopen, people have been looking to travel, and you can see that almost all over the country. I think that a lot of the things that are going on right now in California, and especially in Florida, are, you know, just the fact that people were out at the beaches and not really taking the social distancing guidelines into play. But that seems to have turned around a little bit, but that still hasn't really changed people's appetite for getting out and vacationing. And I do see that a lot larger groups, a lot of families want to come to the larger property that we have. So we're still seeing a pretty high demand all the way through Labor Day. And we were supposed to have TwitchCon. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, here in San Diego in the middle of September. And it was here last year as well. I was shocked because we got a couple of week-long guests in last September and found out that they were going to TwitchCon, and and this year they had the same thing, but that week in September is still booked up on 2 of the properties that we have. And, you know, they're paying really good premium for that entire week, even though I think that TwitchCon will probably be canceled. It's, you know, 10,000 people or so at the convention center. So I doubt that they're going to have it in person. Right. But the demand was still there. We do have all of, I think right now, all of Christmas, the 2 or 3 weeks of Christmas break have been booked for about the last 3 months. And those are usually premium weeks as well, where we get 2 to 3 times as much during those week-long stays as we do in a typical, you know, month during the year. So the demand has been there, and I believe that has a lot to do with people wanting to get out, not wanting to typically go to a hotel. Also, the amount of competition. Just like we've done, where we've rented a lot of our properties now long-term. I know a lot of my friends and family have done the same thing, where they had short-term rentals that pretty much dried up. I mean, in March, we got, you know, next to nobody, and then April was completely canceled. Everybody on all 6. So we had probably about 25 or so people staying for, you know, the spring break time frame. Those were completely canceled. And we didn't see a stay again until May, and there was only 1. So we decided to do long-term rentals on 4 of the properties, which still cash flow and still make money. And the rental market in San Diego is still extremely strong, but it's about half as much, or, you know, sometimes a little bit less than half as much than if we were having them as typical short-term rentals.
Yeah. And when you're doing your investment prognosis, do you and it's going to be an Airbnb thing, do you take like an average of 20 days out of the month type of thing and go based on an average number, or is that kind of the right nights out of the month, or is it half? Is it 15 days that you're projecting now, or and then what was it before, and has that changed, you know, given Corona?
Yeah. That's a great question. And for what we typically do is we scale up. And when we're working with our clients or friends and family, we let them know that the first month, you know, you're going to get 1, maybe 2 people staying there. The next month, you're looking at probably 25 to 35% occupancy. The month after that's going to be 50, hopefully as high as 60. And then our typical, what we aim for, is somewhere between 70 to 80% occupied. We never want to have a property 100% occupied. It's not realistic. And if you do have something that's 100% occupied, you're usually not charging them enough. Exactly. So based on 70 to 75% occupancy is what we look to when we're buying properties. And we haven't bought a property in over a year, probably closer to 2 years now, that we've used as a short-term rental. Most of the properties that we bought have either fixed up and flipped them, or have sold them pretty much immediately, because a lot of the numbers just don't make sense. They're just not as good as they used to be by any means. And I do think that we're going to have a turn here in the market as we hit the winter months, especially, and people's forbearance timeframes are played out, and there's going to be a lot of distress in the market. So there's probably going to be some good opportunities that pop up.
Yeah, 100%. And it sounds like you primarily deal in the single family market.
We have all of the properties we own right now are single, one duplex, but single family. I used to own apartment buildings and got out of that market. But yeah, we just do single family right now.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. This building is an 8-unit complex, and we do some apartments across the nation, but nothing in California yet, just for cap rate reasons and obvious California stuff. This will be the first kind of foray into small deal, but into the California market. I had some single family stuff here before, but I agree with you that there's definitely a change in the marketplace afoot, and if and when that happens, we'll see how it goes. But there's too many factors to at play to not have something affect it. So
yeah, there's a lot going on right now, and I have 1 unit in Jacksonville, Florida, which is doing really well, but everything else that we have now is in San Diego. And what happened? What's your best market right now that you guys are in?
We like Texas a lot. I'm in a contract for a 60-unit in Montgomery, Alabama. But all of these things are, and these are all multifamily stuff. But it's these are C area type of properties, and C buildings, and the highest impact demographic for sure. There are a lot of people in the restaurant industry, and thank God they've been doing okay, and the government stepped in, but that there's a limitation on that, right? So there's a time frame where that just doesn't work anymore. So and it may be coming up soon, but so that's why the Airbnb piece is interesting.
Okay, so I wasn't able to join early because I was sitting in the waiting room. You guys heard about them reducing down to 3,000 listings for San Diego with a carve out for Mission Beach?
For the city of San Diego, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. They're reducing it to 0.7% of all housing. So it'll drastically reduce. I believe the number right now is 16,000 listings, and they're taking that all the way down to 3,700 is the approximate number.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that. I know that the city of San Diego has been, very adamant about trying to get something passed, but every time they do, there's an uproar, obviously, with the whole Mission Beach community and everybody as well.
So they have a carve out for Mission Beach. So they have a carve out for them, and theirs is, I believe, 3%. So they're capped out at 1,000, maybe 1,200 just for Mission Beach, but everyone else gets 3,700. So that is basically 25% or less than 20% of what the current number of listings are. If that passes, and the latest news from Airbnb is they're kind of rolling over. They're not trying to even fight it. All they're trying to do is get it from 0.7% to maybe 1%, which is only 4,000. That's it.
Sure.
So it's gonna be bottlenecking real quick here. So they're not even trying to fight it. Yeah. They're not even trying to fight it.
Sorry, my computer froze up while you were mentioning what the number was. That's a number of total Airbnb listings available in cities.
So the city of San Diego, the city of San Diego,
got it. Yeah,
they've tried to they've tried different things in the past to de-incentivize people from having short-term rental properties, and they tried to do an executive order type of agreement back about a year ago, where they tried to limit the amount of properties where people had to live in them for over 183 days out of the year in order to make them applicable as short-term rentals, but that quickly got squashed by legal means. But they've been trying to do this for a while now.
I heard the story was Airbnb paid close to $1 million to get it on the ballot for a referendum so that they can get it on the ballot. They're not doing it at this time, according to the community managers, or whatever you want to call them, the people who handles the political side of things. They're not doing it this time. So the information I got was they're rolling over. They're just rolling over this time. So it doesn't look pleasant this time around. It's not the same as last time. Last time they bankrolled. This time Airbnb has no money left because of COVID. They do not have like close to $1 million to bankroll this whole voting thing this time around. It's a complete different situation this time. So
Yeah,
can't.
the legal fees are obviously one of the things that pile up, and the cities try to limit what it is that people are allowed to do with their privately owned residences, which I think is complete and utter nonsense to begin with. But it is what it is. And the city of San Diego, I've always warned people that, each city and each municipality has their own rules and regulations. So, Coronado's been a complete ban for, a really long time. So, it's each city and each real area is going to, each zip code basically is going to have their own rules and regulations. Some of them are completely easy to deal with, La Mesa, El Cajon, Chula Vista, and a lot of the northern counties are perfectly fine. It's just the cities where it's obviously really desirable, they get a lot of pushback, and they have a lot of constituents that are older and have a lot of money and really don't understand what a short-term rental is. And it's unfortunate, but at some point it will come into effect where, it's your property, and the people fight it at some point and say whatever they want to do with their own home is their responsibility. And I do think that that'll win out in the long run. It's just, there's going to be a lot of pushback here in the interim time frame where Airbnb is just still so new, and they were going to go public this year. And it's unfortunate that everything happened. It looks like not until next year, or possibly even the year after, where they'll be able to, get out and be able to tell their message more than just, the party kind of thing that they've been represented now by a lot of news agencies.
Right. So the cities said that they're going to crack down on illegal listings. So unless you have a permit from the city, once this new law passes, they won't allow you to host. And if they find your listing or whatever, they're going to crack down and give you a fine. And it's not a small fine either. Mm-hmm. So they're doing what a lot of the other cities are doing, like you mentioned, Coronado and the like.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's always been as you look at any property, you've got to evaluate it on two fronts. And I think for a lot of people, they've been looking at them as this arbitrage period that we've had for about 3 or 4 years, where people can make 2 or 3 times as much money doing a short-term rental as they would a normal lease. They obviously can offer a lot more money for properties based on the fact that they're going to get more revenue from them. Now they're just going to have to reevaluate and say, okay, well, based on a typical 12-month lease, this is what I get. So if anything, the city and the cities that do it are hurting their own property values, but they don't ever see it like that. They see it more as a public type of a referendum that their older constituents, I think, who don't want to have people that they don't know, come in and stay next to them.